Koyana, thank you very much indeed for joining us, Professor, and thanks for giving us your time.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, Prof, let's start with the Justice Minister's, I suppose, decision and his announcement. For some, I suppose it was not unexpected, his decision.
Not at all. I personally was not surprised with it, precisely because, I realized that the law, the basis of the application was that there would have needed to be new facts that have come out after the conviction and sentencing, which would have then weighed on a court to give those facts an opportunity to be heard. But apparently there were no new facts really that there's no new evidence that has come about. But rather it was an application for a reprieve, simply straightforward.
All right, before we consider the complication that he's a king, if he was an ordinary citizen like most of us, he's been to the Constitutional Court, he's been to the Supreme Court, he's petitioned the minister. One would say that's the end of it now.
Good. Let me deal with that. So I'll deal with that, which is the current South African law in the matter. What you say has happened, which is in terms of the current South African law procedures. Now, going by that itself, the present law takes into account certain things. When a person has been tried and he has been dealt with as an ordinary citizen. I don't agree with this perception that people want the king to be dealt with as different from other people. He has been dealt with as any other person by being tried and convicted. But now the South African law is that after such conviction, then there are two important things. The personal circumstances of a person have to be taken into account, and furthermore, the question whether he is a first offender or not. Now, on personal circumstances, there comes in this issue of him being a king. His personal circumstances are that he is the shepherd, as it were, of a whole flock, of a whole nation, and that nation cannot really be expected to survive without him, especially because his position is he's got it by heredity. So, under personal circumstances, that did not get sufficient consideration, and he should, as a result, have been considered to the extent of getting a suspended sentence. And then also, the fact that he's a first offender. We've had cases where a sentence similar to this one, a sentence of which was due to have been 10 years imprisonment, for example, for a traditional leader, was taken into account that as a traditional leader, it would not be appropriate to send him to jail. So he was given a big fine with an alternative of imprisonment, and then the other half of the imprisonment was suspended for a certain time. And that solved the justice of the case because the big fine was paid and then the other portion of the imprisonment was suspended. But that's what I would have expected to happen to him in terms of the current South African law.
But Professor, this would suggest that if you are royalty, then all you're ever going to get is a fine.
No, not at all. I'm saying this because this is what happens to the average person. Personal circumstances are an issue which are issues which are taken into account fully by the courts. And the personal circumstances may be anything. It may be the fact that one is the mother of twin babies, and that one can't go to. I suppose. One can't go to jail with those babies, and that's where this personal circumstance comes in. And so he is being a king. He's not taken. It's not a personal circumstances purely on the basis of him being a king, but because of the responsibilities that are around him and the consequences of taking him to jail.
Okay, Professor, let's deal with the idea of him being a king as well, because he has mentioned that customary law really wasn't taken fully into account in his court case. What things might he be reaching for? At some point in our history, kings were allowed to dispense justice. That must have ceased at some point.
Good. I'm glad to look at that as well. In customary law, of course, we will know that there were no jails. So there would have been times when people would have been dissatisfied with a king. But whatever the extent of the dissatisfaction, he would never, there's no question that he would be sent to jail. And that is what makes the people today, the customary law tradition people, worry so much about the king being sent to jail. Because he would never have been sent to jail, because it's not in the tradition of Africa for people, for king to go to jail. Now, prior to democracy, of course, customary law was not recognized. So it was quite to be expected that a king would be sent to jail. But now there came the constitutional era. And this is what worries people so much. The Constitution says that it recognizes customary law as a legal system. But what is not taken note of is that recognition falls short. There is a catch there. It is recognized subject to conformity with the Constitution. Now, the Constitution is a document based on the experiences of Canada and England and so on. It's not an African-born document. And the correct procedure should have been that customary law should have been recognized as a legal system in its own right, not subject to another legal system. And hence, customary law methods would have then been appealed to say, what do we do with the king in a situation like this?
All right. So, I mean, short of going back to the Supreme Court to raise this issue that you're saying, that the Constitution perhaps should have been more considerate of traditional leaders, is it only a presidential pardon that's likely to save the king now?
Yes, to my mind, that failure, you know, I must say this, Peter, that the traditional leaders did fight hard for customary law to be recognized as a system in its own right, not subject to the Constitution. And that failure is the basic problem that has let the king down in this instance. Now, as you say, what is left? Yes, pardon, presidential pardon is what I see as the only avenue left for the king.
All right, and that's where we're going to have to leave it. But thank you very much indeed for sharing your thoughts with us, Professor Digby Koyana, who's a law expert, sharing his insights on this case of King Dalindyebo.